My name is Ethan Cole, and I used to believe in marriage. That belief died at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday night when my wife's phone buzzed with a text that would destroy everything I thought I knew about the woman sleeping next to me. The notification lit up our bedroom like a lighthouse beacon, and through my insomnia-addled brain, I saw the preview. Can't wait to feel you again tomorrow. Luke. Not a name I recognized from Nora's endless work stories about her tech company. Not one of her childhood friends. Just Luke, apparently intimate enough to send late-night messages about feeling my wife. I should have woken her up right then. Should have demanded answers. Instead, I did what any reasonable husband would do at 3 a.m. I became a detective. Nora's phone had been unlocked, probably expecting another message from her mystery man. The conversation thread made my stomach turn. Months of explicit messages, plans for secret meetings, and worst of all, jokes about me. About how I was too focused on renovating the house to notice what she was renovating in her life. The bastards were laughing at me. By dawn, I had screenshots of everything. Every dirty detail, every cruel joke, every plan they'd made while I was working 16-hour days to pay for our dream house renovation. The Victorian home we'd bought together, the one I'd spent 2 years restoring with my own hands, had become the backdrop for my wife's elaborate deception. Nora stirred as sunlight crept through our bedroom windows. She looked peaceful, almost angelic with her blonde hair spread across the pillow. Hard to believe this woman had been systematically destroying our marriage for months. "Morning, honey," she mumbled, reaching for her phone. I handed it to her, already unlocked to Luke's conversation thread. "Explain this." The color drained from her face faster than water down a sink. She sat up, suddenly wide awake, scanning the messages with growing panic. "Ethan, I can explain." "Really?" "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks pretty self-explanatory. Who's Luke?" She clutched the phone to her chest like it was a shield. "It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. The question is, how long has this been going on?" Nora's eyes darted around the room, looking for an escape route that didn't exist. We were in our bedroom, in our house, having the conversation that would end our marriage. No amount of her HR training could spin this one. 6 months, she whispered. 6 months. Half a year of lies, deception, and betrayal. Half a year of me working overtime to afford the granite countertops she'd insisted on, while she was getting her thrills with some guy named Luke. Who is he? Luke Benson. He's the CEO of a startup we're partnering with. Of course he was a CEO. Of course my wife had traded up from a software engineer to a chief executive. The ambition that had attracted me to her in college had apparently evolved into something much uglier. Is he married? Her silence was answer enough. I stood up, surprised by how calm I felt. Maybe it was shock, or maybe it was the clarity that comes with having your worst fears confirmed. "Pack your things." "Ethan, please, we can work through this." "No, we can't. You made your choice 6 months ago. Now I'm making mine." She started crying then, the kind of theatrical tears she'd perfected during our college drama club days. But I was done being her audience. "I'll be at my workshop. When I come back, I want you gone." I left her sobbing in our bed and walked downstairs to the garage I'd converted into a woodworking shop. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd spent 2 years building us a perfect home, and she'd spent 6 months tearing it down. My phone buzzed. A text from Nora. "Please don't do anything stupid." Too late for that advice. I'd already done something stupid. I'd trusted her, but now it was time to do something smart. I scrolled through Luke's messages until I found what I was looking for. His full name and a photo Nora had saved of him. Luke Benson, CEO, married father-to-be based on the wedding ring visible in his profile picture. A quick Google search revealed everything I needed. Luke Benson, 42, CEO of TechFlow Solutions, married to Cassandra Benson, expecting their first child in 3 months. His company profile included his business address and even his wife's name listed as emergency contact. on some professional directory. Finding Cassandra's phone number took exactly 4 minutes of internet searching. Social media made cheating spouses easy to catch, but it also made revenge beautifully simple. I typed out a text message. "Hi Cassandra, you don't know me, but I think we need to talk about our spouses. My wife Nora has been having an affair with your husband Luke for 6 months. I have proof. Call me when you're ready to see it." I attached one of the tamer screenshots, enough to prove I wasn't lying, but not so explicit that it would traumatize a pregnant woman. Send. Within 5 minutes, my phone rang. "Is this Ethan?" The voice was shaky but determined. "Yes. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. How long have you known?" "About 8 hours. I found the messages on her phone this morning." Cassandra was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was steel. "Can you send me everything? Are you sure? Some of it is pretty graphic." "Send it all." I'm done being the fool. I spent the next hour forwarding screenshots to Cassandra Benson. Every message, every photo, every cruel joke our spouses had shared at our expense. By the time I finished, I could hear Nora moving around upstairs, presumably packing. My phone rang again. "Cassandra." "I confronted him," she said. "He's denying everything. Says the messages are fake." "What did you tell him?" "That I'm filing for divorce and he has until tonight to move out. But Ethan, I want to do more than just divorce him. I want to destroy him." The venom in her voice surprised me. I'd expected tears, maybe anger, but this was pure fury. "What did you have in mind?" "Luke's company is going public next month. His reputation is everything right now. What would happen if these messages accidentally became public?" I smiled for the first time in 12 hours. Cassandra Benson was speaking my language. "I think that could be arranged." "Good. Because I'm not just angry about the affair. I'm angry about the lies, the disrespect, and the fact that they thought we were too stupid to figure it out." "Well, they were wrong about that." "Yes, they were. Very wrong." After we hung up, I sat in my workshop surrounded by the furniture I'd built for our home. Each piece represented hours of work, dreams of our future together, hope for something lasting and beautiful. Nora had destroyed all of that. But unlike furniture, betrayal couldn't be sanded down and refinished. Some things, once broken, were meant to stay that way. I heard her car start in the driveway. Through the window, I watched my wife of 8 years drive away with 2 suitcases and whatever dignity she had left. She'd left a note on the kitchen counter. "I'm staying at Sienna's. We need to talk about dividing assets." Assets. Even in her apology note, Nora was thinking like an HR executive. I crumpled up the note and threw it away. We talk about assets, all right, but first, we were going to talk about consequences. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend Pete. Heard through the grapevine that Nora moved out. "You okay?" Small towns. News traveled faster than gossip at a church potluck. I typed back, "Better than okay." "Want to help me with a project?" "Always." "What kind of project?" "The kind that makes sure cheaters get exactly what they deserve." "I'll be right over." Pete Morrison had been my best friend since high school, back when we played football together and thought we knew everything about life. 20 years later, he owned the most successful auto repair shop in town, and I'd learned that life had a twisted sense of humor. He arrived at my house with coffee and donuts, the universal male response to relationship disasters. "So she really was cheating?" Pete asked, settling into my kitchen chair like he belonged there. 6 months with her boss, a married guy whose wife is pregnant. Pete whistled low. That's cold, even for Nora. I'd always appreciated Pete's honesty about my wife. While other friends had politely pretended to like her, Pete had never hidden his opinion that Nora was too ambitious and calculating for her own good. "What's the plan?" he asked. "Cassandra Benson, that's the other wife, wants to make this public, ruin both their reputations before Luke's company goes public." And you're okay with that? I thought about the question while sipping my coffee. A month ago, I would have said public humiliation was too harsh, that private revenge was beneath me. But that was before I'd read months of messages mocking my marriage. They made me a fool, Pete. They laughed about it, joked about how oblivious I was while I worked overtime to pay for this house renovation. Fair enough. What do you need from me? Information. Luke drives a Tesla, probably lives in one of those new developments by the lake. I need to know his routines, where he goes, who he talks to. Pete grinned. You want me to stalk the guy? I want you to gather intelligence. There's a difference. If you say so. What else? Nora's staying with Sienna Walsh. You remember Sienna from high school? Cheerleader, dated that college guy, thought she was better than everyone? That's the one. She's been Nora's best friend since college, and I guarantee she knew about the affair. Probably helped cover for her. Pete nodded. So we're going after the accomplices, too? Everyone who helped make me look stupid. Everyone who knew and said nothing. My phone rang. The caller ID showed Nora's number. Don't answer it, Pete advised. But I was curious. What could she possibly say that would matter now? Hello, Nora. Ethan, we need to talk. This is getting out of hand. What's getting out of hand? Luke's wife called him screaming about divorce. She's threatening to go public with private messages. You can't let her do that. The audacity was breathtaking. Even now, caught red-handed, Nora was trying to control the narrative. I can't let her do what exactly? Ruin his career over a mistake. He has employees, investors. This could destroy everything he's built. Like you destroyed everything we built? That's different. This was personal between us. Luke's business has nothing to do with our marriage problems. I put the phone on speaker so Pete could hear this masterpiece of rationalization. Our marriage problems? Is that what you're calling 6 months of adultery? Don't be dramatic. It was just a connection. Something I was missing at home. Pete made a disgusted face and mimed vomiting. What were you missing, Nora? I worked 16-hour days to pay for your dream house renovation. I cooked dinner, did laundry, planned our vacations. What exactly was missing? Excitement. Passion. Luke made me feel alive again. And I made you feel what? Dead? Comfortable. Safe. Boring. There it was. 8 years of marriage reduced to 3 words. Comfortable. Safe. Boring. Well, you won't have to worry about being bored anymore. What's that supposed to mean? It means your boyfriend's wife is filing for divorce and planning to destroy his reputation. It means I've changed the locks on our house. And it means you can explain to your HR department why their star employee was sleeping with a business partner. The line went quiet for a long moment. You wouldn't. Try me. Ethan, if you do anything to damage my career, I'll make sure you regret it. I know people. I have connections. Are you threatening me? I'm warning you. Don't mistake my infidelity for weakness. I'm still the woman who built a career from nothing. I can protect myself. Good. Because you're going to need to. I hung up and looked at Pete, who was shaking his head in amazement. She actually threatened you. After getting caught cheating, she threatened you. That's Nora. Always has to be in control, even when she's losing. So what's next? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from Cassandra. Luke came home to get more clothes. I confronted him with the messages. He admitted everything but says it's over now, wants to work on our marriage for the baby's sake. I showed Pete the message. What did you tell her to do? My phone buzzed again. I told him it's too late. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow and sending the screenshots to his business partners. He's begging me to reconsider. Then another message. He's offering me money to keep quiet. A lot of money. I called Cassandra immediately. How much money? $50,000 cash. He says it's to help with the baby's expenses, but we both know it's hush money. Are you considering it? Hell no. You can't put a price on dignity. Besides, $50,000 is nothing compared to what I'll get in the divorce settlement. I was starting to really like Cassandra Benson. What's your plan? I've been thinking about that. Luke's company is having their pre-IPO investor meeting next Friday. All the major investors, business partners, potential clients. What if some embarrassing information about the CEO's character accidentally became public right before that meeting? Accidentally? I'm thinking anonymous emails to every investor on their contact list. Maybe some social media posts from fake accounts. Nothing illegal, just public information shared publicly. Pete was nodding approvingly. This woman understood revenge. I can help with that, I offered. I was hoping you'd say that. But first, I want to see if we can get more evidence. If they've been carrying on for 6 months, there has to be more than just text messages. She was right. Nora was too careful to leave everything on her phone. There would be hotel receipts, restaurant charges, maybe even photos. I have access to our joint credit card statements, I said, and I have access to Luke's. Want to compare notes? Absolutely. After I hung up, Pete was grinning like a kid on Christmas morning. I like her. She's got style. She's got motivation. Nothing more dangerous than a pregnant woman scorned. So what's our next move? We gather evidence. Every hotel, every restaurant, every lie they told to cover their tracks. Then we make sure the whole world knows exactly who they really are. Pete stood up and cracked his knuckles. Finally. I've been waiting 8 years for someone to knock Nora down a peg. This isn't about knocking her down a peg. This is about justice. Same thing, different words. Maybe he was right. Maybe justice and revenge were just two names for the same satisfaction. Either way, Nora and Luke were about to learn that boring, comfortable husbands could be very creative when properly motivated. My phone rang again. This time it was a number I didn't recognize. Is this Ethan Cole? Yes. This is Sienna Walsh. I think we need to talk. Sienna Walsh hadn't changed much since high school. Still blonde, still perfectly put together, still convinced that her opinion mattered more than everyone else's. She sat across from me in the coffee shop downtown, stirring her latte like she was conducting an orchestra. Nora is devastated, she began, as if I should care. Good. That's not very mature, Ethan. Neither is adultery, but here we are. Sienna sighed dramatically. Look, I know you're hurt, but this doesn't have to get ugly. Nora made a mistake. She's willing to end things with Luke and work on your marriage. She's willing? How generous of her. Don't be sarcastic. It doesn't suit you. I leaned back in my chair and studied Sienna's face. She was nervous, despite her attempts to appear calm. Her perfectly manicured fingers were tapping against her coffee cup, and she kept glancing toward the door like she expected someone to walk in. How long have you known? Known what? About the affair. Don't lie to me, Sienna. I'm not in the mood. She looked down at her latte. A few months. How many months? 3. Maybe 4. So you knew my wife was cheating on me, and you said nothing. It wasn't my place to get involved in your marriage. But it was your place to help her lie to me? Sienna's composure cracked slightly. I never helped her lie. Really? So all those girls' nights out, all those work conferences that ran late, all those times Nora said she was with you when she was actually with Luke, you had nothing to do with any of that. She asked me to cover for her a few times. But I told her it was wrong. I told her she should either fix her marriage or end it. But you covered for her anyway. She's my best friend. What was I supposed to do? Tell me the truth. Warn me that my wife was making a fool of me. Act like a decent human being. Sienna's eyes flashed with anger. Don't lecture me about decency. You have no idea what Nora was going through. Enlighten me. She felt trapped, stuck in a marriage with someone who took her for granted. Luke made her feel special again. I took her for granted? I worked 16-hour days to pay for everything she wanted. I renovated our entire house by hand because she had a vision. I planned romantic vacations, cooked dinner, did her laundry. What part of that sounds like taking her for granted? You turned her into a housewife. She has ambitions, dreams, goals beyond cooking dinner and doing laundry. She has a career, a successful one that I've supported from day one. What are you talking about? Sienna leaned forward, lowering her voice. Luke offered her things you never could. Excitement, adventure, a chance to be part of something bigger. Like what? He was going to make her VP of operations when his company goes public. A 6-figure salary, stock options, real power. The pieces clicked into place. This wasn't just about passion or feeling alive. This was about ambition. Nora hadn't just been cheating on me. She'd been interviewing for a new life. So this was never about our marriage being broken. This was about her finding a better deal. Sienna realized she'd said too much. It's more complicated than that. No, it's really not. She found a richer man who could advance her career, so she decided to trade up. The affair was just her way of test driving the upgrade. You're oversimplifying things. Am I? Because it sounds like Nora and Luke had their whole future planned out. His wife would conveniently disappear, I would conveniently disappear, and they'd ride off into the sunset with their IPO money. Sienna didn't deny it, which was confirmation enough. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to go back to Nora and tell her that her plan failed. Luke's wife isn't disappearing quietly. She's filing for divorce and taking half his assets. The IPO is probably dead because investors don't like CEOs with messy personal lives. And I'm not disappearing either. What do you want? I want everyone to know exactly who Nora really is. I want her co-workers to know she was sleeping with a business partner. I want her friends to know she's a liar and a cheat. I want the whole town to know that the woman who acts so superior to everyone else has the morals of an alley cat. Sienna's face went pale. You can't be serious. Dead serious. That would destroy her career, her reputation, everything she's worked for. Should have thought of that before she destroyed our marriage. Ethan, please. I know you're angry, but this is too much. Nora doesn't deserve to have her life ruined over a mistake. A mistake? 6 months of planning and scheming isn't a mistake. It's a choice. She chose Luke over me, chose ambition over loyalty, chose lies over truth. Now she gets to live with the consequences. Sienna stood up abruptly. If you do this, you'll regret it. Nora has friends, connections. She can make your life very difficult. Is that a threat? It's a reality? You think you can just destroy someone without consequences? Nora knows people in HR departments all over the state. She could make sure you never get another job. I smiled. See, that's where you're wrong. I'm a software engineer with 15 years of experience and a spotless reputation. I can get a job anywhere. But Nora? Once word gets out that she's untrustworthy, that she'll sleep with business partners and lie to cover it up, who's going to want to hire her? Sienna grabbed her purse and headed for the door. You're making a huge mistake. No, Sienna. I made my mistake 8 years ago when I married her. Everything I'm doing now is just correcting that error. After she left, I sat in the coffee shop and thought about what she'd revealed. Nora and Luke hadn't just been having an affair. They'd been planning a future together. A future that required disposing of their current spouses like outdated furniture. My phone buzzed with a text from Cassandra. Found something interesting in Luke's credit card statements. Can you meet tonight? I typed back. Absolutely. Where? My house. Luke is staying at a hotel until the divorce is final. 8 p.m.? I'll be there. As I drove home, I called Pete to fill him in on my conversation with Sienna. So Nora was planning to dump you for the CEO? Cold. It gets worse. Apparently, he was going to give her a VP position when his company goes public. This whole thing was a business merger disguised as an affair. Well, that explains why she's so desperate to keep it quiet. If the affair becomes public, there goes her promotion. There goes a lot more than her promotion. What do you mean? I mean, Cassandra found something in Luke's credit card statements. Something interesting enough that she wants to meet in person. Want backup? Not yet. But stay close to your phone. I have a feeling things are about to get very interesting. That evening, I drove to the address Cassandra had given me. The Benson house was in one of those new developments where every home looked like it belonged in a magazine. Perfect lawns, perfect landscaping, perfect facades hiding imperfect lives. Cassandra answered the door looking exhausted but determined. Her pregnancy was showing now, and I felt a fresh wave of anger at Luke for putting her through this stress. "Come in," she said. "I've got everything spread out on the dining room table." The table looked like a detective's evidence board. Credit card statements, printed emails, photos, receipts, and a timeline written on a whiteboard. "You've been busy," I said. "Revenge is a full-time job. Look at this." She handed me a stack of hotel receipts. The Marriott downtown. Every Tuesday for the past 4 months. Same room number, same time check-in. Tuesday was Nora's late night at the office. And Luke's standing golf lesson, except he doesn't play golf. I studied the receipts. Room 412, always checked in at 6 p.m., checked out at 10 p.m., 4 hours every Tuesday for 4 months. "There's more," Cassandra said. She showed me restaurant receipts from expensive places around town. Look at the dates. Every receipt corresponded to a night Nora had told me she was working late or out with Sienna, dinner at Romano's when she'd claimed to be in a budget meeting, drinks at the Riverside Lounge when she'd supposedly been helping Sienna move apartments. "They weren't even trying to be careful," I said. "Why should they? They thought we were too stupid to figure it out." Cassandra pulled out her laptop. "But here's the best part. Luke's been using our joint credit card for everything, which means I have legal access to all of it." She opened a folder on her desktop labeled Evidence. Inside were dozens of photos, apparently taken from Luke's phone and automatically backed up to their shared cloud account. "He forgot we shared the family cloud storage," she said. "Look at these." The photos were exactly what you'd expect from a cheating spouse. Luke and Nora at restaurants, in hotel rooms, on weekend trips I'd never heard about. But what caught my attention were the timestamps. This one was taken the same weekend Nora told me she was at a work retreat, I said. And this one was taken when Luke told me he was visiting his sick mother in Portland. We spent 2 hours going through everything. By the end, we had a complete timeline of the affair, documented proof of every lie, and enough evidence to destroy both their reputations. "So, what's the plan?" I asked. Cassandra smiled, and for the first time since I'd met her, she looked genuinely happy. "Tomorrow is Friday. Luke's investor meeting is at 2 p.m. At exactly 1:30, every investor, business partner, and potential client is going to receive an email with a very interesting photo gallery." Anonymous email? Of course, from a concerned citizen who thought they should know about their potential business partner's character. "And Nora? Leave her to me. I have a special plan for your wife." Friday morning arrived with the kind of crisp autumn air that usually made me optimistic about the day ahead. Today, it felt like the weather was celebrating along with me. I'd taken the day off work, ostensibly to meet with my divorce lawyer, but really to watch the fireworks. Cassandra and I had spent the previous evening finalizing our plan, and now it was time to execute. At 1:25 p.m., I sat in my truck outside TechFlow Solutions office building, watching employees return from lunch. Luke's Tesla was parked in the spot marked CEO, and I could see people in suits gathering in the conference room on the second floor. My phone buzzed with a text from Cassandra. Email sent. 47 recipients. No turning back now. I replied, good. They deserve to know who they're doing business with. At exactly 1:30, I watched through the building's windows as phones started buzzing in the conference room. One by one, the men in suits pulled out their devices, their faces changing from professional interest to shock to disgust. Luke was presenting at the front of the room, gesturing at a PowerPoint slide about market projections. He hadn't noticed the distraction yet, but it was spreading through his audience like a virus. Then someone's phone rang, then another. Luke stopped mid-sentence and looked around the room as his potential investors started taking calls, their voices growing louder and more agitated. My phone rang. Cassandra. Are you watching? She asked. Front row seat. How bad are the photos you sent? Bad enough. Nothing pornographic, but very clearly intimate. Luke and Nora at romantic dinners, holding hands, kissing in hotel lobbies, plus screenshots of their text messages discussing business deals and Luke's promise to make her VP. Through the conference room windows, I could see Luke's presentation falling apart. Half his audience was on their phones, the other half was staring at him with expressions ranging from disappointment to outright anger. I think his IPO just died, I said. Good. But we're not done yet. What do you mean? Check your email. I sent you something special for Nora. I opened my email and found a message from Cassandra with the subject line, for your wife's co-workers. Inside was a professionally formatted document that looked like an internal memo. What is this? A summary of Nora's affair, formatted to look like an HR violation report. I'm sending it to everyone at her company in about 10 minutes. The document was devastating. It outlined Nora's relationship with Luke as a conflict of interest, detailed how she'd used company time and resources to conduct the affair, and included quotes from their text messages discussing business deals that should have been handled through official channels. This will end her career, I said. That's the idea. She wanted to play corporate games, so let's see how she handles corporate consequences. Through the building windows, I watched Luke's investor meeting dissolve into chaos. People were packing up their briefcases, shaking their heads, walking out. Luke stood at the front of the room looking like he'd been hit by a truck. My phone rang. Nora. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Hello, Nora. What did you do? Her voice was shaking with rage and panic. I told the truth. Revolutionary concept, I know. Luke's meeting just fell apart. Investors are pulling out. His company is finished. Sounds like the free market at work. Investors don't like doing business with people who lack integrity. You destroyed everything he worked for. He destroyed everything I worked for. Fair trade. This isn't over, Ethan. I swear to God, this isn't over. You're right. It's not over. Check your email in about 5 minutes. I hung up and watched Luke emerge from the building, his face red with anger and humiliation. He was on his phone, probably trying to do damage control, but some things couldn't be undamaged. My phone buzzed with a text from Pete. Heard through the grapevine that something big went down at TechFlow today. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you? I typed back, just enjoying the show. Want company? I'm buying beer. Come on over. Bring popcorn, too. 20 minutes later, Pete arrived at my house with a 6-pack and a bag of microwave popcorn, grinning like he'd won the lottery. So how bad was it? He asked. Luke's company is finished. The investors walked out, and word is already spreading through the business community. Nobody wants to partner with a CEO who cheats on his pregnant wife. And Nora? About to find out that her co-workers don't appreciate employees who sleep with business partners. As if on cue, my phone rang. Nora again. You bastard! She screamed before I could say hello. They fired me! My own company fired me! That's what happens when you violate company policy. What policy? I didn't violate any policy. Conflict of interest? using company resources for personal business, compromising the integrity of business negotiations. Should I go on? Those are lies. I never used company resources. Really? So all those calls to Luke during work hours were personal time? All those emails sent from your company account were on your lunch break? All those business dinners you attended as Luke's secret girlfriend were just coincidence? The line went quiet. They can't prove any of that, she said finally. They don't have to prove it. They just have to believe it's possible. And thanks to the evidence that mysteriously appeared in their inbox today, they believe it. You're going to pay for this. No, Nora. You're going to pay for this. You gambled our marriage on a CEO who turned out to be a loser. You bet your career on a man whose company just collapsed. You chose ambition over integrity, and now you get to live with the consequences. I'll sue you. I'll sue both of you. For what? Telling the truth? Good luck with that. She hung up, and I turned to Pete, who had been listening to the whole conversation with obvious delight. She's going to try to fight back, he said. Let her try. What's she going to do? She's unemployed, unemployable, and about to be divorced. Her boyfriend's company is finished, and his wife is taking him for everything he's worth. Don't underestimate her. Nora's always been resourceful. Pete was right to be cautious. Nora wasn't the type to accept defeat gracefully. But I was no longer the naive husband who'd trusted her completely. If she wanted a war, I was ready for battle. My phone buzzed with a text from Cassandra. Luke came home to pack more clothes. Found him crying in our bedroom. Actually crying. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. I replied, Any regrets? None. He made his choice. Now, he gets to live with it. What about you? I looked around my house, the house I'd renovated with my own hands, the home I'd built for a woman who'd thrown it all away for a promotion and a few exciting Tuesday nights. No regrets, I typed back. They got exactly what they deserved. But even as I sent the message, I knew this wasn't over. Nora was too proud and too calculating to accept defeat without a fight. And Luke, despite his tears, still had connections and resources. The first battle was won, but the war was just beginning. 3 days after Luke's company collapsed and Nora lost her job, the counterattack began. It started with a call from my boss at the software development firm where I'd worked for 6 years. Ethan, we need to talk. Can you come in early today? Something in his tone made my stomach clench. What's wrong, Dave? Just come in. We'll discuss it in my office. I arrived at work an hour early to find Dave waiting with Linda from HR and a stack of papers that looked ominous. Sit down, Dave said. We've received some concerning information about your recent behavior. What kind of information? Linda opened a folder. We received an anonymous tip that you've been using company resources to harass former employees and business partners. Specifically, that you've been sending threatening emails and making false accusations that have damaged reputations and cost people their jobs. I felt my blood pressure spike. That's completely false. The tipster provided evidence. Screenshots of emails sent from accounts traced back to your IP address. Records of online activity that suggest cyberstalking and harassment. Can I see this evidence? Linda slid a stack of papers across the desk. The screenshots showed emails I'd never sent, from accounts I'd never created, making threats I'd never made. But they were sophisticated fakes, complete with headers that made them look like they'd come from my home computer. This is fabricated, I said. I never sent any of these emails. The technical evidence suggests otherwise, Dave said. Look, Ethan, I've known you for 6 years. This doesn't seem like you. But we have to take these allegations seriously. Who made the complaint? It was anonymous, but it came with very detailed information about your personal situation. Your divorce, the affair, the recent problems at TechFlow Solutions. Nora. It had to be Nora. She'd somehow fabricated evidence to make it look like I was the villain in this situation. This is retaliation, I said. My wife is trying to destroy my career because I exposed her affair. That may be true, Linda said, but we still have to investigate. Until we can sort this out, we're placing you on administrative leave. Are you firing me? Not yet. But if we can't prove these allegations are false, we'll have no choice. I drove home in a daze. Nora had managed to turn the tables, making me look like the aggressor while positioning herself as the victim. It was a masterful move, and I had to admit I was impressed despite being furious. My phone rang as I pulled into my driveway. Cassandra. "We have a problem," she said without preamble. "Let me guess. Luke is fighting back?" "Worse. He's filed a restraining order against both of us. Claims we've been stalking and harassing him. Says he has evidence that we conspired to destroy his business through false and defamatory statements." "Can he do that?" "He just did. I have to appear in court next week to defend myself against charges of harassment and intentional interference with business relationships." I sat in my truck, staring at the house I'd worked so hard to restore, and realized that Nora and Luke were better at this game than I'd given them credit for. They'd regrouped, hired lawyers, and launched a coordinated counterattack designed to paint us as the villains. "What's our next move?" I asked. "I don't know. Luke's lawyer is good, really good, and he's claiming that everything we revealed was obtained illegally through hacking and invasion of privacy. But you had legal access to his credit card statements and cloud storage. Try proving that in court. He's claiming I hacked his accounts and fabricated evidence." After we hung up, I sat in my driveway and tried to process what was happening. Nora and Luke had turned our justified revenge into a legal nightmare that could destroy both Cassandra and me. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Meet me at Romano's restaurant at 8 p.m. Come alone." Nora wanted to meet. After everything that had happened, she wanted to sit down and talk like civilized people. It was either a trap or a surrender, and I couldn't decide which would be worse. But I was curious enough to find out. Romano's was the same restaurant where Nora and Luke had shared intimate dinners while lying to their spouses. The irony of meeting her there wasn't lost on me. She was already seated when I arrived, looking smaller and more fragile than I'd ever seen her. The confident, ambitious woman I'd married had been replaced by someone who looked exhausted and defeated. "Thank you for coming," she said as I sat down. "What do you want, Nora?" "To end this, before it destroys all of us. You should have thought of that before you fabricated evidence to get me fired." She had the grace to look ashamed. "That wasn't my idea. Luke's lawyer suggested it. Said we needed to go on the offensive." "So you decided to frame me for harassment and cyber-stalking?" "I decided to protect myself. You and that woman destroyed everything I worked for. My career, my reputation, my future. What was I supposed to do? Accept the consequences of your choices. Like you're accepting the consequences of yours?" She had a point. My quest for revenge had put my own career and freedom at risk. "What are you proposing?" I asked. "A truce. You and Cassandra drop the harassment campaign, and Luke and I will drop the legal complaints. We all walk away and try to rebuild our lives." "What about the divorce?" "We proceed quietly. 50-50 split of assets, no alimony, no public drama." "And Luke?" "His marriage is over. Cassandra won't negotiate. But if you two stop the public humiliation campaign, he might be able to salvage something from his business." I studied my wife's face, looking for signs of deception. She seemed sincere, but then again, she'd seemed sincere for 8 years while planning her exit strategy. "Why should I trust you?" "Because we both have too much to lose. If this escalates, we'll all end up broke and unemployable. Is that really what you want?" Before I could answer, my phone rang. "Pete." "Where are you?" he asked. "Having dinner with my wife." "Why?" "Because Luke Benson is at your house. He's in your driveway and he looks pissed." I looked at Nora, who suddenly wouldn't meet my eyes. You set me up. Ethan, I can explain. I was already standing, throwing money on the table. This isn't over. I drove home faster than I should have, my mind racing through possibilities. If Luke was at my house while Nora kept me busy at the restaurant, they were planning something that required me to be away from home. I found Luke standing in my driveway next to his Tesla, holding what looked like a crowbar. Pete was across the street, clearly keeping watch but staying out of direct confrontation. Get off my property, I said as I got out of my truck. Not until we settle this, Luke replied. You destroyed my life, my business, my marriage, everything. You destroyed your own life when you decided to sleep with my wife. That was between consenting adults. What you did was criminal harassment. What I did was tell the truth. If the truth destroyed your life, maybe you should have lived a better life. Luke raised the crowbar. I'm done talking. Put that down before you do something really stupid. Like what? Like trusting a woman who was willing to cheat on her husband? Like believing she actually cared about me instead of just using me for a promotion? The admission caught me off guard. She was using you? The whole thing was her idea. The affair, the business partnership, the plan to leave our spouses. She orchestrated everything. I felt a cold chill run down my spine. What are you saying? I'm saying your wife is a sociopath. She seduced me, convinced me to offer her a job, talked me into planning a future together. And when it all fell apart, she threw me under the bus and tried to save herself. You're lying. Am I? Where is she right now? Why did she insist on meeting you at the exact time I'd be here? What do you think she's doing while we're having this conversation? The pieces clicked into place with horrifying clarity. Nora had lured me away from the house so Luke could… What? Destroy my property? Plant evidence? Or worse? I pulled out my phone and called her, straight to voicemail. She's not going to answer, Luke said. She's probably halfway to the airport by now. What are you talking about? Check your bank accounts. I opened my banking app with trembling fingers. Our joint checking account showed a balance of $127. Yesterday, it had been $47,000. Our savings account, $0. Yesterday, $89,000. She cleaned out the accounts, I whispered, while you were having dinner with her. While I was here making myself look like the bad guy, she played us both. I called the bank's emergency number. After 10 minutes of holds and transfers, I got confirmation of what I already knew. Nora had legally withdrawn all funds from our joint accounts 3 hours ago. As her husband, I had no recourse until the divorce was finalized. She's gone, Luke said, lowering the crowbar. Left us both holding the bag while she disappears with everything she could steal. I looked at this man who had helped destroy my marriage and realized we were both victims of the same calculating woman. Where would she go? I don't know. She mentioned having a sister in California, but that could have been another lie. Pete crossed the street and joined us. Everything okay here? No, I said. Everything is definitely not okay. But as I stood in my driveway with my wife's former lover and my best friend, looking at the house I'd renovated with money that was now gone, I realized something important. I was free. Nora had taken our money, but she'd also taken herself out of my life permanently. No more lies, no more manipulation, no more wondering if the woman I loved actually existed. Luke, I said, I think we both learned the same lesson today. What's that? Never trust a woman who's willing to cheat with you. If she'll betray her husband, she'll betray anyone. Luke nodded slowly. She destroyed both our lives. No, I said, looking at my house, my friend, my future. She freed both our lives. We just didn't realize it yet. 3 months later, I got a postcard from Las Vegas. No return address, but I recognized Nora's handwriting. Hope you're both happy. I certainly am. I threw it in the trash without reading it twice. Some people aren't worth the energy it takes to hate them.